Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
Tatum drives down and throws it down. Wow.
To throw, rainbows it down the right side for Kyle Pitts. He's got it. He's there. Touchdown. Oh, my.
Oh my, indeed. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Bits podcast with Moko, here to talk about all things Florida Gators and Boston Celtics. Follow me on Twitter at SportsBitsPod to get updates on when I upload and also live tweets and reactions of things that are happening in the sports world. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, just subscribe to the podcast and give us a 5-star review. That'd be much appreciated. If you're on YouTube, you know the spiel. Like, share, and subscribe. Everyone says it. All right, let's get rolling into this. We only have a Celtics side for this, and also we have a little bit of a March Madness section, and we'll probably do that every so often, just when the rounds get completed. So yeah, we're gonna go on to that real quick later, and we also have two really good 1-minute hot takes at the end of the podcast. So first thing, me and Reid are showing what's up, but the Nets did play the Celtics.
Yes, sir.
And it was a really bad day for the Celtics, and we can get into that because Reid can probably talk about the Nets a lot better than I can. So, I mean,
talk about them all day.
Yes, sir. And the first note I have is actually the Nets pulled away in the fourth. Like, they were pretty close, honestly. Like, we were watching it together. They were pretty close until the fourth, and they just got shafted at the fourth quarter. And the Celtics can't contain anybody in the fourth quarter. Clearly, this is what we've seen that trend before. So it's like not, I guess it's not like an uncommon thing. But Reid, can you talk about like why the Nets like pulled away on the fourth?
Well, Kyrie was obviously a huge part of that. Kyrie really just exploded in the fourth quarter, which I think was obvious. He was pretty much the main offensive driving force for that game. James Harden didn't shoot too well. I think he went like 1 for 8 from 3, but he slipped into more of like a playmaking role, and Kyrie has been more of the scorer. So I think that they've been working really well together, actually. And also Harden with DJ and Claxton, they're running the pick and roll amazing. He's throwing the lobs up and they're getting them. It's really pretty incredible. And I think a big problem for this game was that not a problem, but the Celtics played really good defense at first. They had 10 steals and 10 blocks. Time Lord, all right, Mr. Robert Williams had 6 of those blocks for the Celtics. Absolutely crazy. Had a monster night in fantasy for me. But and the Nets only had 3 steals and 5 blocks. So the Celtics obviously played better defense, but it's really hard to contain Kyrie, especially when James Harden is on a roll with his passing.
Yeah, just quick thing about the defense for James, or you give your little take on it, that their defensive rating was 124, which is pretty ass, but it's also considering that Kyrie went off. So like that's probably a little skewed from what it actually usually is. But yeah, James, you can continue.
Yeah, I'd honestly kind of argue that the second quarter was the turning point of the game. The Nets had 35 points before the half ended, and the Celtics had 26 within that quarter. So I think that, during as much as that was pretty tight throughout the whole game until the fourth quarter, I think that it was a shift in mentality for going into the second half with the Brooklyn Nets and staying consistent and continuously getting better throughout the series of the game, where the Celtics didn't. And I think that, Reid put it perfectly. The Celtics did play better defense, but all in all, the Nets offense is just so dominant compared to the Celtics that it's really hard to stop them. And even when you have a good defensive night, especially from Time Lord, man, Robert Williams with 6 blocks, but yeah, huge night. And that's mainly all I really got to say about it. Unfortunately, I missed watching the game, and you guys watched it together, so I did not have that pleasure. But the Celtics also shot like shit from free throw and 3-point. So that was pretty terrible, and they got to work on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a bad shooting just because the momentum was in the Nets court, and that's probably why it didn't help, their mentality when it came to that. And like you're talking about shooting, and it's funny enough, the only highlight shooting thing that I really saw was a bad thing is that Jaylen Brown went 5 for 23.
I was just about to talk about.
Jaylen Brown.
Talk about him.
I feel like he's an X factor on the Celtics. Every time he does really well, we usually win because his scoring, his impact really helps the other players get a little bit more like opportunity, just because people focus on Jaylen Brown over some of the other guys who need a little bit more like space to actually like elevate their game. Compared to Jaylen Brown, could do whatever he wants usually and be able to play really well. And if you wanted to add a comment about that, Reid.
Yeah, so he shot 21.7% from the field, which is really terrible.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's straight garbage. So I think you put it well. Once Jaylen Brown, or when Jaylen Brown plays really well, the Celtics do really well. When he doesn't play that well, they don't do that well. But also another problem, which big surprise, is Kemba's shooting was also not that great during that game.
We always say it, and it gets really old and tired, and I hate talking about it every week, and this is really loud. But screw it, Kemba Walker's trash.
I mean, it's a problem. It's really a problem, I think. What's my note here says? 14.2% from.
Oh, that's really gonna suck to edit because I just screamed in the mic, but it's fine.
So he went 1 for 7 from 3, which I mean for him, like he's got to be hitting more shots, but
the team can't rely on JT. JT really only had a good game that game. Sorry to cut you off, Reid, but like.
Yeah, no,
he was the only one who really had a good game. Like even Marcus Smart, like did decent, and he had the second highest amount of points on the team. But like realistically, JT was carrying that entire game, and like you can't have that nearly every night, especially against a team like Brooklyn Nets, who are one of the best teams in the league right now.
They're just gonna outscore you every time, which I think is gonna be a huge problem with I think that it's going to be a really big problem for some other teams that are also like more on the scoring heavy side, because I think that the Nets are just going to blow like everyone out the water just based on pure offense alone. But and also when it comes to teams who are playing like really solid defense, like I think the Bucks can with Giannis, I think, and Drew Holiday, I think that they can give Brooklyn a problem as long as they cover the perimeter. I really think that the perimeter is like a big thing for them. I think also, with that being said, sorry to cut you off, but with that being said, even if they do cover the perimeter, it's going to be really tough because Kyrie can get inside. Kevin Durant, once he's healthy, he's lethal from mid range, and James Harden is running the pick and roll exquisitely right now.
Well, KD's lethal from anywhere, and
but I mean mid-range specifically.
Yeah, no, it's just funny to see that we have this Nets team that's like insane on offense, and then they're like probably like 18th, 19th in defense, like around that like area.
So bad.
And I think that's the only way they're gonna win is just like outscoring teams. If they can't outscore them, like if somehow the Sixers play really good defense with that roster, or the Bucks play really good defense against them, that would really give them trouble. I don't think they'll be able to fight through that, especially with their bad defense against their offenses, like the Sixers offense or the Bucks offense that is really impactful with what the players they have. It's an interesting dynamic we'll have to see in the playoffs, but for right now, the Nets could just keep outscoring everybody to win.
Exactly. But once they start playing teams that have more of like a center, because the Celtics, they have Robert Williams, but he's not like the focal point of them. Once they play like Embiid, I know Embiid's injured now, but like if he comes back, by the time, it's going to be really difficult for them to score on him. I feel like, it's going to be hard for them to prevent him from scoring because the Nets don't have that defensive anchor really. And I think that like Embiid is going to just absolutely tear the paint up. And I think even Jokic has a, potential to do that as well, just because he's a big man who's so versatile. And I think they're going to have a really hard time containing him.
James, any last minute comments before we move on to the Rockets game?
Yeah, you guys summed it up pretty well.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch until the fourth quarter, and that thing about the JT kid relying on JT, as James brought up, it's like that's what separates an all-star from a superstar. Being able to be lead player, that number one on that team, being able to lead your team through any type of night like the Celtics had against the Nets, and that's like my only. Yeah, and consistently doing that, we can't say JT's like LeBron. He's able to push through anything, but I think he can develop into that eventually because he can make good contested shots. He can do everything. I think it's just a little bit more development, a couple more years, and I think JT will be there. But I think we'll move on to the Rockets game. We completely
I'm excited about. I'm very excited for.
Celtics blew them out. Blew them out, and I didn't have much to say. I mean, the only note I did have, because it was kind of a boring game to watch, and I really noticed anything too much other than Robert Williams popping off, is that they played like the way. If we play that way, for every game, I think we could win more games and just be more consistent. But that's not the Celtics right now.
Look how deep their bench went. I'm so happy
I was
for
just
them.
about to say that. They literally used every single weapon in their arsenal that night.
Yeah.
Every single weapon. It was great. Even like Peyton Pritchard, who usually doesn't have like a crazy night, he only played 14 minutes, but still had 9 points and 3 assists.
Yep.
That's a really efficient
Fall
for him.
played.
Taco Fall did play.
Okay.
Taco Fall did play.
Quick note, for the last like 10, 12 minutes of the whole fourth quarter, they basically just ran the bench guy, like the deep bench guys. They didn't go.
Exactly.
They didn't try. So like I think both teams were just playing their young guys, trying to like figure out what they got. And I think it's a good thing for the Celtics. I think that's like James has been saying that all year, like play the young guys, figure out who can be that like breakout bench player that we need.
Exactly.
And I definitely see that in Robert Williams now after his 13 rebounds and 3 blocks, and 16 points, obviously, but like then it's
7 for 7.
Exactly. 7 for 7.
Miss a shot.
He's developing the way we need to. And I think he'll eventually, if we either bench Tristan Thompson or trade him, he'll definitely be our starting center for the future. After seeing these couple games after the All-Star break, it's really good to see. And I think Tice can still be a good like power forward, like stretch 4 with like how he's shooting the season. So we have something brewing. I don't think it's there yet, but I think we have something brewing for the season.
And
James,
if you look at the equality in the stats, like Tatum had a good game.
Brown had a good game. Walker had played decent. Robert Williams popped off. Like,
it's just solid. And like I love to see the differentiation on the team and being able to move the ball. Like, this is what they need to do every single game. And I press it so hard enough because they're so inconsistent this season, and it upsets me because the Celtics were known as one of the most consistent teams, always making the playoffs, always being in contention for the championship. And this year, I'm just not seeing it like that. And I'm hoping that if they look back at this game and look back at film for the game that they had against the Rockets, they'll realize this is what the type of basketball that we should be playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's also worth mentioning though that the Rockets were without John Wall. So, he's obviously a big piece to the Rockets.
John Wall, PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon, Karoops.
Yeah, so they were pretty understaffed that night. But KPJ's been playing really well. I love that guy. But he had just an okay night as well. So, I think the Rockets need like all their weapons as well, because they don't have like that. Like John Wall obviously, used to be like a big superstar, but I don't think he's at that level anymore in terms of like being able to carry a team deep into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I think the Rockets definitely need to utilize all their weapons.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see them as a playoff team. I think they got some good young players they're going to develop, and they're going to have to like build through the draft, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know how this Rockets team's going to work without Jason or James Harden and all them. So,
and we'll see if Oladipo stays, because he might get traded
again.
Yeah,
I didn't know about something like that, but I think I heard that, but I didn't read anything about it.
Yeah, I've been hearing about a couple of other teams are interested in shipping for Depot, so that should be interesting.
Crazy.
He's a great player, solid all around.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to hope that Wall and Oladipo can play well together and maybe cook something up for the Rockets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. Honestly, there's not much I didn't really have much to say about the Rockets, and I know we have other topics we really want to discuss about. So I think we should move on to the March Madness stuff. You guys ready for that?
Very.
All right,
sir.
So I think for this, what is your guys' first thoughts about the March Madness bracket? Like, what teams you guys are highlighting on your brackets? Like this team could upset or this team could make a run. What are you guys thinking? Like, if you guys are looking at your brackets, I'll let you guys pull that up.
Yeah, I'm pulling my bracket up right now.
Yeah, for right now, my current upset, I would say, I I think one of them is a VCU. I think is going to upset is one of mine. But also, it's a low-key upset also in the West bracket. But I think Ohio's going to upset Virginia. That's just my hunch pick. Like I usually have one like hunch upset, and that's Ohio over Virginia. But the other one I want to highlight that I don't know if they're going to play or not. But if Drake makes it into March Madness or into the bracket, they're upsetting whoever they play first because I really am high on this Drake team this year.
See, I'm high on Wichita State.
I have Wichita State. State beating them.
I think that's cap, and I'm calling Wichita State going further.
I can't find. Hold on, I was gonna pull up one stat because there's one stat I use especially for like upsets. I can't find what bracket are the. There is with Drake and there it is. Okay.
I think a huge upset would be Texas losing to Abilene Christian.
Abilene Christian.
I'm high on Abilene Christian this year, and I think Texas easily beat Texas.
Yeah, and so I think that's good. And then also one low key one. I don't know if you guys want to talk about Georgetown making a potential Sweet 16 run.
I picked Colorado.
Colorado, that's fair.
Yeah.
So I think I
debated.
Colorado.
It could go either way. That is the toss-up one. I'm also a fan of Grand Canyon this year, and I think that they might be able to beat Iowa, and they'll probably be one of the only teams that has a massive upset. I could totally be wrong, but I have faith in them.
All right. So I need to hear this from y'all. So I'm gonna start with mine. So let's hear our final four picks. Yeah. So currently I have Gonzaga versus Alabama. And I have Baylor versus Illinois are my four. Let's start with James. Who do you have for your final four?
My final four, I have Gonzaga versus Alabama, and then I have Ohio State versus West Virginia.
Very interesting. So you're thinking West Virginia can make a run?
Yeah.
I'm hoping West Virginia can make a run as well. I have them in my final four.
Mm-hmm.
I have Gonzaga playing FSU and Baylor playing West Virginia.
Baylor, yeah, because I West Virginia losing to Houston in the Sweet 16, so that's honestly again like this can go any way. We don't know because March Madness is crazy.
Yeah,
like, upsets
exactly.
happen.
Never know what's going to happen.
Who do you have? Illinois playing in the Midwest.
Midwest. Where is it?
I have them beating
Loyola. I have them beating Loyola. I have them beating Oklahoma State. I'm high on Kate Cunningham.
I have Oklahoma State beating Illinois.
I'm high.
I know.
Is Oklahoma State have Kate Cunningham? I think they do, and I think that's why I'm high on them. I'm high on them to make the Sweet 16.
I picked Oklahoma. I picked Oklahoma State against West Virginia, and then West Virginia. I had them obviously making my Final Four, but like that the Midwest, I'm very interested to see how it turns out because
I think that's the most. I think that's the most interesting conference.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, my two teams I'm really high on just here that I already have in the what is it? The finals is Baylor versus Gonzaga. I've been high on them all this season. They've been playing really well.
Those are my finals as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's everyone's lock, but I feel like somebody's gonna make a run, like a 2-seed or a 3-seed.
I mean, there's always some sort of like crazy upset going on, but like when I was doing my bracket, I was just looking at exactly what I think is gonna happen. But like you said, March Madness is probably the craziest basketball tournament on the planet.
Okay.
You see some crazy stuff.
Yeah. So my last thing I'm going to say, so what's your one team that you're, regardless how good or bad they are, you want to root for them regardless? Like my team's Florida because I'm a Florida fan. So what do you guys have as your team? What do you guys have as your team?
Me and James both have Florida getting out in the first round.
Yeah, we do.
Well, I have them winning the one and they're losing on the round 32. So what do you guys have as your one team that you guys want to root for regardless of how good or bad they are?
In the tournament?
Yes, in the tournament as a whole.
Because like my team, I would normally go with Arizona, who normally makes the tournament, but they didn't this year, which I was very upset about. But for me, the one team that I think that I'm like very high on is Wichita State.
Yeah,
you're picking is it a 16 seed? Wichita?
They're 11 seed, but they're facing Drake in the first four. Yep. And then I think that they'll beat USC, and then I have them playing Eastern Washington, who beats Kansas in the round of 32, and I picked Wichita State, and then I have them losing to VCU in the round of 16.
All right.
I'm hot on West Virginia. I like West Virginia.
So you're gonna be rooting for them
I
the
went there.
whole
Pretty
regardless if
much.
they win. All right.
Pretty much, yeah. I like West Virginia. They're cool. I don't really follow too much college basketball, to be honest, but my 2K player went to West Virginia, so
That's what you're going off.
Exactly. That's what we're rooting for.
Yeah, my two teams, because I got a lot of family or whatever, is Florida and North Carolina. But North Carolina, I'm not high on either of these teams this year, just
North
because of how they've been
Carolina
playing.
is like having one of the most disappointing seasons.
Hey, no, but they're doing all right now with Caleb Love is really picking up this season, and I really think that they could do something. Like if they upset Baylor, I'll be surprised because that's who I have. I have Baylor versus North Carolina, and if they upset them, that'll be happy for me. But also my bracket will be screwed for the rest of the way because I have Baylor going all the way. So we'll see what happens. I always have that fan optimism that we can like potentially upset somebody, but we'll see because March Madness, anything can happen, as we said. Like if
Exactly.
UMBC beat Virginia 2 years ago, or was it? I think it was 2 years ago as a 16 seed. So anything's entirely possible. And I mean, that's really it. Unless you guys have any other comments about your brackets and stuff.
Nope, I'm just excited.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
I also, my little hot take real quick, if you guys want to add on this, but I feel like no one cares about the college basketball regular season unless you're like a fan of a team and you only care about March Madness when it comes up. Do you guys agree?
I would agree with that's with most people. Yeah. Unfortunately.
I mean, I'm like that low key. I mean, I'm getting more into the regular season now, but yeah, definitely. I was lacking on the regular season, and now I'm hot for March Madness.
Yeah,
definitely college kids follow more college basketball when you're in college. So it's like I just said college a lot in that sentence. But,
I mean, our team's never gonna make thing ever. So we'll. I mean, I like our team, but like it's not March Madness ready at all. But
not yet.
Are you talking about our
talking
team?
about our school? So yeah, we all go to George Mason.
We didn't even make the tournament.
We didn't make the tournament.
And did you know that our coach is fired or let go today?
Yeah.
Of course, because he didn't recruit very well, and then
and it's also 6 years without making the tournament once.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
that's. We'll see if we're gonna always root for George Mason because we go here, but if they do, I'll be very surprised. Like as a 16 seed, probably.
I'll have them winning the tournament.
No, honestly, if they're in the tournament next year, I got them going all the way. No doubt.
For sure. All right. So I think that's it. Let's move on to the 1 minute hot takes. I think these things are probably gonna go like 10 minutes each because we were talking about this beforehand, prepping the notes and stuff. And I think we got a lot to say about these two hot takes. So my first question to pose to you guys, I'm going to start with James on this one is, are the Miami Heat booming at the right time? They're 4th in the East right now. Their defense is 5th in the league, which is really good. Bam Adebayo is playing really well. Jimmy's, of course, that leader of that team. And I think, I mean, whatever you want to say about Tyler Hero, but I think he's overrated from his expectations, of course. But like, I think he's a solid player. Just like, I think everyone's hyping him up a little too much. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Heat? Are they booming at the right time? Should they like wait? Should they keep? Do you think this trend will continue, et cetera? That kind of stuff.
I think they are booming at the right time, but with that, I don't think that they're going to make a similar run as they did last year with the bubble in the playoffs. They are a strong team. They got really good, talented guys, but they're all young and they need to develop, except for Jimmy Butler. He's a very good vet to have as a leader on that team. But guys like Bam Adebayo, guys like Tyler Hero, guys like Duncan Robinson, they all need to develop a little bit more, and especially Tyler Hero, in my opinion, because he was awesome in the bubble, and then this season he's kind of sucked.
Mediocre.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Mediocre, yeah.
He's been very average, and I think that he needs to step up his game a lot more if they want to be a continuously competitive team in the playoffs. Do I think that they will make the playoffs? Yes. Do I think that they'll be a lower seed? Yes. So I think that it's just a matter of whether they can change their style up a little bit more in the playoffs, because we've seen teams heat up really well in the playoffs as the Miami Heat did last year. So it could be one of those situations, but I doubt that it would happen again. And I like the Heat. They're a good team. I will follow them. I think that they're solid. I like their play styles. I love Jimmy Butler, but I don't see them making massive moves in the playoffs, nor do I really see them getting out of like the second round if they are a high enough seed. That's pretty much what I gotta say on it.
So I feel like I mean, I agree with a lot of what you just said, especially about Tyler Hero. He scored 37 points in that one game in the bubble. And then I think that everyone just got really hyped up about him. And then I think that, we kind of realized like, all right, he's still like 20, 21. He needs time. He needs time to develop. I don't think he's going to be dropping 37 anytime soon again. But, I could be wrong. But, Jimmy Butler, obviously the leader of that team. I think they're going in a good direction, but I think the X factor, honestly, and this is like my complete honest opinion, I think the X factor for that team could be Duncan Robinson. So I think that right now he's a 3-point specialist, obviously, but I think that if he can actually, form if he can develop into a more well-rounded player, at least like more of a playmaker, not necessarily needing to be, like a ball handler and a finisher at the rim. But I think that if he could become a playmaker and continue his really good shooting, then I think that they have a really solid chance of making some noise. But right now, I think teams figured him out. They know what to do. He only takes threes pretty much. So all you have to do is defend the perimeter and he's kind of out of the game. I had him on my fantasy roster for a little bit and I realized that if he doesn't make threes, then he plays like garbage.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the gist of what I think Jimmy Buckets can lead this team. I think he's definitely a number one.
One of the best leaders in the NBA.
Yes, because he's just a good like mentality type of guy, a good guy like to motivate and like facilitate a team. They got Bam as a good defensive anchor at the 5. As I said, Tyler Hero should be. I hope he breaks out as that like a good. I think his ceiling for me right now, I think is all-star. His highest ceiling is all-star. And I think if he keeps developing the way he is, like I definitely think he's like borderline star right now, star status. And I think if he takes a few more steps, he'll be an all-star. So this team has a bunch of potential and has like some good vets too. So I think they have a good mix of experience that can definitely make some noise if they really wanted to. But again, my ceiling for this team is probably the 5th seed. The ceiling. I'm not going to say they're going to be a 5th seed. Their ceiling is the 5th seed. So like the best they'll do is 5th seed. Worst, I think they're probably going to be out of the playoffs. Like the first team out is my worst case.
I can see that.
Depending
on who they play, obviously, but I can definitely see that.
I'd agree, but I'd probably say that their ceiling, in my opinion, I think that their ceiling is 6th seed. I don't think that they'd be high enough.
I mean, this is my 5th seed is just if everyone's playing well, like Duncan Robinson's hitting all his threes, Tyler Hero's facilitating and scoring, being that scorer. Same with Jimmy Butler, just leading that team, and Bam Adebayo being excellent on defense along with getting his buckets on offense. This is like everyone playing well, and all the bench units are also hitting their shots and everything. This is like 5th seed. Yeah. It's my highest ceiling. So yeah, 6th seed is pretty realistic. 7th seed is really realistic.
Yeah, I could see both of those.
I think they'll realistically be like a 7 or 8, in my opinion. I think that like just the way that they've been playing, I think that it's worthy of it, but I don't know for a fact.
Yeah.
If they even might make the playoffs or not. Like they could totally just get scammed by some other teams that really make a run in the second half of the season.
Yeah, well, the Eastern Conference is becoming a lot more competitive now. You have the Sixers are making some noise. The Nets, obviously. The Knicks are, obviously they're the Knicks, but still Julius Randle, who knows, he might have something in his bag and drops like a 50 bomb every night in the playoffs.
Raptors are trying to make a comeback.
Yeah, I think the East has always been generally weaker but I think we still have some
weaker than the
teams.
West. Yeah,
we have some competitive teams, and I hope that the Celtics are another competitive team in that mix as well. The Heat will play well. Hopefully, the Hornets will make the playoffs. I want to see them make some noise in the playoffs. Just like looking at playoff standings and stuff right now, currently, because this could also change. Because I'm looking at the West, and the West have at least 9 teams that I could see making the playoffs. Like I'm including the Warriors plus the 8 guys that are
Suns,
top.
baby, 2 seed. Let's go.
Yeah, I know.
Suns are going
And
off.
hey, wait, the Jazz are still holding it up. And I know we had our
I
1 minute
know.
hot take from like 4 episodes
shocked.
ago. And yeah, I know you guys didn't believe it. I
didn't either. Yeah.
I said they had potential. I think they could keep it rolling as long as, they're playing the roles right, which they are. And it's
They
really
did lose
good.
their previous game.
They did lose their previous game. And I still think the Jazz.
They're playing the Celtics now.
Yes.
Right? No.
They are playing the
Actually,
Celtics.
let's look at the score.
Like literally as we speak.
As we speak, as we're recording this on Tuesday, they are playing the Celtics, and we are winning. We are up. We are up 2 points, 22-20. And I'm going to quickly look at that right now. Why don't we talk about that real quick? Jaylen Brown's playing well, so that's a good sign. We were just talking about him earlier. Rob Williams, 4 points. I don't know how many blocks. I don't have the all stats pull up. 1 block already. That's pretty good. And
I have a big fantasy night again.
Big fantasy for me. And I think the Jazz can make some noise. We're straying away from the Miami Heat. I think we're really done with Miami Heat. I think I said my ceiling and my floor for them. So that's kind of how it is for how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want them to like do well because, like I said, I really like the Miami Heat. Just like in general, I think they are a great team. I love Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo is pretty cool. Okay, Tyler Hero is cool. Also, I hope he gets better. I really do. I like him a lot. And they also have really cool jerseys. So I like the Miami Heat. I really do.
Everyone loves the Heat for the jerseys, bro. That's how.
I think they have some of the best jerseys in the game. Yeah. You don't like the new ones though.
The new ones.
You like the Miami Vice ones though.
The old ones from like those.
I like the blackout ones.
That's what I'm saying.
Blackout Vice. Yeah,
those are nice. Those are.
Yeah, everyone loves it for the jerseys. But let's move on to the next 1 minute hot take. We were Reid did bring it up, and I actually want to talk about it. So, Kevin Porter Jr. He just came back from the G League, and he's playing really well, and it's showing a lot of potential. So, my question I want to pose to you guys is, what is Kevin Porter Jr.'s ceiling in his career? So, like, what is he going to be like? What's his best peak at the end of his career? Let's start with Reid this time because you brought it up.
So right now, kid is 20 years old. That's our age, or at least like I'm 20, Makoto, I think you're 20, right?
Yep.
So he's 20. Our age. James is a baby, but whatever. He's really, like, the point is he's really young. He has a lot of time
literally
to grow.
turning 20 in a month.
He's still a baby, all right?
Relative baby to
21 in October. But that's besides the point. So like I said, he's young, he has a lot of time to grow, and I think that John Wall is actually going to be a really good influence on him. If assuming that he stays there. Oladipo was the one that might be moving, but I think he's going to learn a lot from John Wall. KPJ, he's a pretty solid shooter now. He didn't have a great night his last time out, but he's a pretty solid shooter. He's got some insane handles. I don't know if you guys have actually watched him play, but it's pretty awesome and insane. And he's a really great finisher at the rim. He can pretty much finish in traffic. He puts up circus shots, jelly layups. Mans can do it all. So I think for me, I think his ceiling, honestly, I could see him being like a superstar. At least from what I've seen so far, I can see him making it to superstar level. Obviously,
please clarify your definition of a superstar again. Make sure I'm not tripping.
Right. Okay. Did we define that last time? Because I kind of forget. You said Tyler Hero was going to be an all-star, so I think all-star.
Do you want to go off my definition? Do you want to go unless you have your own definition?
Your definition.
So my definition is a superstar that some people agree with is that you could be a number one player on a championship level team. Can he be the number one player? Like, be like, like a Kevin Durant, LeBron.
Okay.
I would put Kawhi myself. I put Kawhi as a number one player because anytime he's been to the playoffs, he's the number one guy. So that's
okay. So I then based off of that, I can see him somewhere in the middle of all-star and superstar. It's kind of weird because
it's that gray area.
Exactly, because I think if he develops really well and he keeps keeps it up with what he's doing now, I think that he easily could make that superstar level, being a number one option on a championship team. But I think that it's obviously going to be tough. He needs the right guidance. He needs to develop properly. But right now, I think he's on the right track. And he's gotten me 48 fantasy points for 2 games now, which is insane. The first game back, got 48 fantasy points.
All right.
For me, I mean, like I can see where Reid's coming from. when I watched him play in high school a lot, so I was very looking forward to seeing him hop into the league. And when he first came in, we were all kind of like, "What's this?" Like he was pretty okay on the Cavs, and I think he's one of those guys that just needs to find his right team, and I think that he's doing well with the Rockets organization. I think that he really helped with going to the G League first and just dominating there for a little bit, and then getting closer with the organization, knowing the coaches, knowing the entire staff helps a lot with players. As of right now, he's averaging for the season 17 points a game, 3.3 rebounds, and 8.3 assists. It's awesome, man. I think that he could have a really good improvement year. He could possibly win MIP within the next year or two. I think at his highest, he could probably average about 29 a game with maybe 5 rebounds and probably about 8 assists. I think that would be really good, really good, solid statistics, basic statistics for him. He could be a big player on the Rockets. He could end up being better than Wall, considering that Wall is getting older in age. So, I'm rooting for him, and I think that he'll do really well in the league, hopefully in the next couple of years.
So what would you classify him as a ceiling, like all-star, superstar, star?
I'd probably say all-star.
All-star?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say the same thing. And I don't think he has that if factor yet. If he develops that, then I'm going to put him as a superstar. Because I think if he gets that if the last thing that's holding him back, other than he's taking steps up to play better, points, assists, whatever numbers you want to throw out there, is that it factor mentality that a lot of players that lead teams have, like Jimmy Butler, for example, we just talked about, has that it factor, has that mentality to push guys better, to play better and all that. If he gets that, then he's probably going to be another really good player, a really good young player in the future. And I would classify him as an all-star ceiling. He's taking the right steps. I'm looking at comparing his stats from Cleveland to what he's playing in Houston. He's overall improved. Other than his 3-point shot, everything has improved, and that's a really good sign for him. He's also taking. Actually, never mind. He's taking more shots in Houston. But again, everything's an overall improvement. If he keeps taking steps up like this, it can prove to be an all-star. And I'd be very interested to see Kevin Porter Jr. in the all-star game. Be kind of fun. But yeah, that's overall ceilings all-star, and I think Reid had him as that gray area between all-star,
in between
all-star and superstar. But yeah,
because I'm just not really sure exactly, because I can totally see him being a superstar. You know what I mean? Like I can definitely see him going there, because you were talking about that it factor. And honestly, I think he has it. All right, I think he's got that mentality. I really think he does. To like really push it to the next level. But I think he needs the right team, the right organization, and I think he needs a veteran leader as well. Honestly, like Jimmy Butler, I think he would be really great for Kevin Porter Jr.
Exactly. Someone to mentor him. And I think that's one thing that John Wall brings with him. I think that's a good thing for him to have, like that guy to talk to about anything and be able to coach him up a little bit as player versus player. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And John Wall's already proven to be a good leader.
Yes.
So I think that for a young Kevin Porter Jr., John Wall is one of the best veteran leaders he could possibly have.
Yeah, but that's it. We start slowly running out of time, but that's really all I had for the hot takes, unless you guys had anything else to add to that stuff.
Oh,
nothing much.
Last week I wasn't here, but I missed the Blake Griffin.
Okay,
I missed the Blake Griffin.
Okay, we're running out of time, but give me your 1 minute. Like I'm gonna get tell you to stop, but give your 1 minute on Blake Griffin's signing, because you are a Nets fan. I forgot about that. We need to talk about the Blake Griffin real quick with you.
All right,
1 minute, go.
I don't hate it. Okay, it's cheap. Okay, he's cheap. All right, I think he signed a veteran minimum deal. I don't hate it. Okay, however, he's not at the level. He's not even anywhere close to the level he used to be. Right now he's taking a lot more shots and he's slow. He's coming off, a lot of injuries. He's coming off an injury now. So I think it's really a toss-up. But honestly, I could see him being a decent bench player for them, and not a solid option by any means, but like I could see him, helping out a little bit, because that's the problem with the Nets, I think, is that their bench is really shallow. So I think that, if Blake Griffin can really step up a little bit and kind of mix into like a 6-man role type thing coming off the bench, then I think that they could definitely have something going there.
I think Bruce
But I'm
Brown
very
has more
very
potential.
skeptical.
Bruce Brown has more potential.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Brown, 100%. Bruce Brown is awesome. I love Bruce Brown, but I'm very skeptical about Blake Griffin, but I hope that, he does something good for us.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's kind of what me and James were talking about last week. I think he's just a good bench piece to add because he's cheap and he adds like some sort of scoring on there, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Not much else going. I mean, he's old and injured. He's like beat up. So like, it's kind of hard to put too much like strain on him. Yeah.
I think he's washed.
He's washed. Yeah. We kind of said that, and like, yeah, that's kind of it. But if you want to hear that, just go to last week's episode and you can hear me and James's take on that. But yeah, we are running out of time, so I will see y'all next week. We do not have a Florida segment because there's nothing to talk about. Next week we will, because spring practice is over and I can finally sum up all that. But yeah, until next week, boys, I will see y'all. Peace.